it's going to take you through the meeting naturally, but we are going to do a roll call vote. So when it asks for votes, we'll do it by voice instead of digitally.
Okay.
Just
And that's
because.
just because we have remote tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll be.
Otherwise, it's on the computer.
Yeah.
All right, I will
I
call
wa-
the meeting to order. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
To the flag,
of the United States of America and to the
to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
visible,
liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
Well, welcome everyone. Before we move on, I just want to welcome Tim and Mary to the table, and we'll hear more on that later. Sarah, could you read our mission statement?
Yes, the mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. I'd also want to note that Sarah is attending the meeting at a remote location, so I just want to make a note of that. Our next item is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
A motion by Sarah Brink and a second by Sarah Runcha to approve the agenda. Any changes or corrections? And because Sarah is remote, we're going to have to do this by a roll call vote, so we'll just start with Mary. Say aye or nay if you approve, and we'll just go down the line.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I am logged in on ESB, so I don't know if that would matter or not, Emily.
log in.
I was
Can
able
she
to
still
do that
vote?
here.
I think as long as we can see individual votes, we're okay.
Okay.
So
So we can vote that
we
way
should
now?
do that way then, I guess, yeah.
Okay, well, let's do it.
Wait.
So now you guys can click on yes. Or no, I guess I should say.
Or abstain. If you have to.
There we go. It
Okay.
worked, so we're good.
Next item is Tiger Spotlight. Like I said before, welcome Mary and Tim.
So we are going to just officially welcome the new board members, and Matt's actually re-elected this year as well, so Matt as well. So I'm going to ask the three new board members, or three newly elected board members, to join us at the podium in the front. Then you can face the board table. And I'll read a statement, and then at the end, there's a responsive piece that I ask you guys to just read together, and it will be on the screen, and you have a paper copy as well. It is an honor that you were elected to guide the education of our community's children. As you recite the oath of office, you assume a tremendous responsibility as a director of our school district with the duties empowered by the Minnesota legislature. This power puts you and the other members of our school board in the position of being both morally and legally responsible for the equitable, quality education for every student in the school district. In carrying out this responsibility, you will be asked to fulfill the roles of the vision, structure, accountability, and advocacy. In providing vision, the board, with extensive participation of the community, envisions the community's educational future and then formulates the goals, defines the outcomes, and sets the course for the public schools. To achieve the vision, the board establishes a structure and creates an environment designed to ensure all students the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. As a board, we must be accountable to the community. We must ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children. Board members serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community schools to advance the vision for our schools. Furthermore, we must strive to work together and with the staff to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision we have created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills and knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. Having signed the acceptance of oath of office and the oath of office, will you please publicly affirm your commitment by reading the oath of office? I swear
I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member of Independent School District 413 to the best of my judgment and my ability.
Congratulations, Matt Coleman, Timothy Van Moore, and Mary Swanson. Welcome to school board. This is where you can hoop and holler in the back if you want to.
Thanks, Jeremy, for that. Next item is a public forum. Anybody from the public want to approach the board? Next item is the election of officers. We need to elect 4 officers. So I will call for nominations 3 times, and then we'll see how it goes. So the first one is an election of the office of board chair. Are there any nominations?
I'll nominate Matt Coleman.
Are there any other nominations?
Do I have to say the same thing? Your name?
No.
Okay.
Unless you have a different nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, Sarah Runcie has nominated myself, Matt Coleman, to be the chair of the board. There's something I was going to read. Myself, as being the only candidate nominated for office of the chair, I hereby declare myself elected by acclamation and direct that to be written in the minutes. So we don't have to vote on that if there's no other nominations. So I'll move on to office of the vice chair. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Sarah Runcie.
Very good. Sarah Brink has nominated Sarah Runcie for vice chair. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Sarah Runcie is the only candidate nominated for the office of vice chair, so I hereby declare her elected by acclamation and direct that be reflected in the minutes. Congratulations, Sarah. Our next action is nominations for school board clerk. Are there any nominations? I would like to nominate Jeff Chapman as our clerk. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? And one more time, are there any other nominations? Jeff Chapman being the only candidate nominated for the office of school board clerk, I hereby declare him elected by acclamation and direct that be reflected in the minutes. Moving on to nominations for the school board treasurer. Are there any nominations? I will
I would
nominate. Go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry, go ahead. I was Sarah Brink.
Thank you. There's been a nomination for Sarah Brink. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? One more time, are there any other nominations? Hearing none, Sarah Brink is the only candidate nominated for the office of chair, and I hereby declare her elected, not chair, treasurer. Treasurer, and I hereby declare her elected by acclamation and direct that be reflected in the minutes. That concludes our officer nominations.
Say congratulations to the officers.
Next item is to approve and set board of directors compensation. If you look in your packet, it is recommended this action to keep it the same as it has been, as it was last year. So I will need a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sarah Runcie and seconded by Sarah Brink to approve our compensation as presented. Is there any further discussion?
Just share the compensation as presented. This was reviewed by the school board finance committee and then by the whole board, I think this last summer, and it was some new rates that took place this fall. So we feel like this has worked well. So there was some discussion with the finance committee on keeping that for going forward.
Any further discussion? I will call for the vote. And that is approved. Next item is approval of 25-26 school board meeting dates. This is something that we have to do every year for next school year. So I will make a motion to approve our meeting dates. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. A motion by myself and seconded by Sarah Brink to approve our school board meeting dates. Any further discussion?
Just share the calendar as presented, reflects similar to this year's calendar. We have the two meetings with the work sessions happening regularly throughout. There is a notation on the bottom too. I just want to call attention to that. Any board meeting that would be canceled because of weather would be postponed 2 days after the regular scheduled meeting. So the posting for the meeting would be considered valid because we are including that 2-day notice now.
Thanks, Jeremy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. And these dates are approved. Next action item is approval of the 25-26 budget parameters.
So moved.
Thanks, Sarah. I need a second.
I can second.
There's a motion by Sarah Runcie, seconded by Sarah Brink to approve our budget parameters. Any further discussion?
Sure, I would just point out a few things that we've been talking a lot about this year, knowing that we came into this year projecting a budget deficit. And just kind of, as I'm working on the revised budget for this year, there's a lot of these different factors that we're just looking at currently for this year, and then this will also obviously roll into what we're looking at for next year. So a few things I wanted to point out is we just finished up our audit for 2024, and at that time, our general fund actually did increase with that audit, or our fund balance, and the percentage that is based off of basically what we have in the bank versus our expenses for the year came in at about 21%. And just so you all are aware that our minimum goal for that percentage is 8%. I would say we don't want to go under 15 though, because just when you run those numbers, we just don't want our fund balances to get that low. So I just kind of pointed that out in there. And our personnel costs, something that will be coming up this year is our negotiations with the Marshall Education Association, which is our teacher group, so our largest group that we have. So those negotiations are going to play a pretty big factor in next year's budget as well. Inflation rates are always taken into account. We know that our general ed funding has not kept up with inflation rates, and that gap continues to increase. So we're hoping the state will recognize that, but that's not something that we can control. And special ed funding is always a very complex piece to look at, and we never get real solid numbers for special ed. So we do our best to estimate as closely as possible for our special education funding. And then overall, I just listed a number of areas that we're focusing on, and we know will have an impact on the budget coming up next year. So if anybody has any questions about them, I'm happy to talk about it.
I'll just say as well as these parameters just kind of give Sarah and I a starting point as we're starting these additional conversations with the finance committee and with our admin team, and then eventually coming back to the board for your approval and some direction as to where we go with the budget for next year. So just need this, the guide, the framework for you, or from you.
Where does the health insurance fall under the general fund? Personnel?
The personnel, yep. So we factor that into their, total salaries with their fringe.
Any further discussion? Thanks, you guys. I will call for the vote. And that is approved. Our next action item is approval of the 25 board committees. This is something we need to discuss before we approve. So I don't know how you guys want to do this. I will say the Executive Governance and Negotiations Committee is usually by 3 veteran board members, because negotiations can be kind of, I don't want to say tricky, but they just need to be more experienced people, I think. So I put myself and Sarah Runcie and Jeff Chapman on the Executive Governance and Negotiations Committee. Right now, I just kind of jotted some things down. The Facilities, Construction, and Planning Development Committee, I got Jeff, myself, and Tim. If you're interested in that, if you're interested in something else, just let us know.
Okay.
And then the Performance Oversight, Finance, and Continuous Improvement, I got Sarah Runcie, Mary Swanson, and Sarah Brink on that committee. If that sounds good? Okay, and then these other advisory committees, these are smaller groups of people that meet to discuss these various things. So there's a calendar committee, which Sarah has been on. Community Service, Sarah Runcie has been on. Did you want to do that again, Sarah? Is that?
Yeah, I would. I think, Matt, you had sat on that committee for quite a while. I'm into my second year. So I think I would like to continue to work on that. I think it's important from the school district perspective to have some continuous representation with that for sake of moving forward with projects. So I'd like to stay on that one.
Okay.
Can I just add, Matt, with the community services, it says Sharon Hansen, and Sharon is part of that, but I think Sarah Kirchner is actually going to be part of that in the school district as well. So
Oh,
have
okay.
an additional perspective there.
Good.
So I think Sarah, put Sarah Kirchner there.
The emergency preparedness, I call it the crisis team. That's the same thing, right?
Yep, that's what it is.
That I've been on. They meet once a month to talk about crisis prevention, crisis preparedness, I guess more. So I don't know if either of you, one of you, Tim, would you like to be on that, or they once a month over lunch? So I don't know how that works with your schedule. It's like noon to 1 o'clock,
Usually on a Thursday.
usually on a Thursday. So,
I mean,
If you're-
I can take it if it's open. I work with that all the time with facilities already, so I'm pretty familiar, and I sit with a lot of the preparedness groups, so.
all right.
that one.
Thanks, Mary. Family projects, Sarah Kay, I gotta start with
Right.
so many Sarahs.
Lots of Sarahs.
Is gonna sit on that committee. Safety, Sarah Brink has been on it. Do you want to continue to be on it? Or
I sure can. I think I've done it, 2 years maybe?
or if
But
there's anything up there that you're interested, Tim?
Or if you want emergency preparedness, feel free to take.
No, if it's on your alley, go for it. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, staff development, Jeff is on.
Bill Swope had been on that one. So I think Jeff had just mentioned before he left that it was one that he would have interest in
Okay.
if nobody else stepped up for it.
Okay. Technology, Sarah have you been on that one or not?
This is my last, I don't know that we've met, so.
Right.
Okay.
That committee did not meet last year, so that's a easy one to take.
I was gonna say.
So you want to stay on that then? Pride and the Tiger, Jeremy has been serving on as our representative on Pride and the Tiger.
Yeah, and I'll continue to be in that one. Sarah Runcie was on that one for a while. Just didn't work with her schedule anymore. That is also a noon meeting. They meet on one Wednesday every month. I do believe if there was another board member that was interested, there would be room for someone else too if someone was interested in that one. But otherwise, I'm happy. I will remain on it either way.
Is anybody
Happy part.
interested?
I wouldn't mind if, I find that one interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
The Minnesota State High School League is taken care of by Mitch, our athletic director, activities director. Insurance, I have been on. I'm willing to stay on that too. And then we have 3 advisory committees for our Career and Technical Institute, Education Institute. One is medical, one is automotive, and one is manufacturing. And they meet 4 times a year.
Quarterly is what we shoot
Quarterly.
for. Yep. They were new last year, so we just kind of got going last
Yep.
year. But
So I think Mary would be good for the medical one, since that's kind of your background.
I can take that.
And Tim, would you want to be on the automotive or the manufacturing or?
I'd be interested in the manufacturing one.
Okay, perfect. And I will do the automotive one unless somebody else wants it. All right.
Calendar. Sarah, you gonna keep that one?
You know, if someone that's a morning one.
It's usually an after school, and it meets once a year.
Is it after school? Okay. Yeah, once a year. So yeah, if someone, if
Did I
either of
skip
you
that
two
one?
want it,
We talked about it. We
it's
just
pretty,
didn't fill it in.
Okay.
excuse me. That one's pretty easy. I mean, I'll certainly do it, but if someone else wants to take it, it's fine.
Looks like
No
we
one's
got-
fighting you for it.
No. It's pretty easy. It's actually kind of interesting. Just watching all the groups work together. You want that one?
Or do you want to do the calendar?
Sure.
It's fun, maybe.
It's once a year.
Okay.
All right. It looks like we got the table full. I will make a motion to approve these committees as discussed and presented.
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. Motion by myself and seconded by Sarah Runcie to approve the committees as discussed and as presented on the board. Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. And they are approved. Next action item is the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Sarah.
I can second.
A motion by Sarah Brink and seconded by Mary to approve the consent agenda. And this is just a bunch of stuff that we do every year in January. Legal stuff that has to be done and approved by the board. So is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Normally, I wouldn't ask for any discussion on the consent agenda, but with you guys that are new, if you have any questions. Okay, I will call for the vote. And that is approved. Next item is the board forum. This is the time when the board members can report any updates or any committee meetings they attended, anything they want to report. So does anybody have any reports?
Had any committee meetings since the last
We haven't.
board meeting, so not with the holidays.
All right, moving on. Discussion items, our first review of policy 413-01, 413-05, and 413-08. We will review these policies twice, and then the third time, we will approve them. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Any discussion on these?
Just share that for the new board members too. The updates or renewal of the policy, sometimes there are changes, the red line version, so it will always be posted in here. If there's a change, we'll talk about it, at the first review usually, or some committee will meet ahead of time. All of them on this item and the next board item are just routine reminders of the policies and no major changes. Any changes would be suggested from MSBA. That's where we get the policies from, so.
And we do have a policy approval cycle that Emily keeps track of, so you'll see policies at almost every meeting, but we just keep rotating, so
Is it once a year or every other year? That we approve?
Every year.
every year
Yeah.
to get through all of them.
Sometimes twice a year.
Our next discussion item is the first review of policies 503, 507.5, 519, 606, 606.5, 613, 614, 615, 701, and 721. Any further discussion on these? Hearing none. Just a reminder, our next meeting is on a Tuesday because of Martin Luther King Day, so our next meeting will be January 21st at 5:30. And again, welcome to Tim and Mary to the board, and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.